this session, we travel to Latin America to discuss anticipating customer needs in the digital age, moderated by Andy Werner, Head of Partnerships in Latin America at Mambu. Take it away, Andy.
Thank you so much, Nina. I am delighted to be here today to talk about innovation in Latin America. I want to do a deep dive into what's going on in the Brazilian market, but before we do, I'd like to introduce our guest, Sergio Biagini, partner at Deloitte Brazil.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really honored to participate in the summit. I'm Sergio Biagini, partner in Deloitte Brazil, FSI leader for Brazil, with more than 20 years working in the marketplace, in the industry, helping national and international brands to transform their businesses.
Thank you for that intro and welcome. So when we look at Brazil, which is where I would like to start our conversation, there are some truly unique things happening in the market. From Nubank with more than 40 million customers at a $30 billion valuation, launching in Mexico, launching in Colombia, it seems like they're taking over the world. And Pix, used by over 100 million people, even though they're a couple of days away from turning 1 year old. It's truly amazing what's going on in Brazil. So the question we ask ourselves is, why now? And why in Brazil?
It's a very good start, actually. So I think how the industry in every single geography is going through a lot of changes, right? How disruptive forces acting in the market, like new innovation in technology, changing customer behavior, more dynamic competitive landscape, and changing regulatory. We see how these elements happening and acting in every single market, but in fact, in Brazil, it's a kind of a unique thunderstorm of change, right? And let me give you some facts so really to emphasize why this is happening in Brazil. I think first, in terms of technology, banking industry in Brazil heavily invests in technology. Is the industry that most invests in technology in country. We at Deloitte Brazil, we on a yearly basis, we conduct a survey with FEBRABAN, the Federation of Banks in Brazil, where we highlight every year the volume of investments in this industry. Last year, we had more than 26 billion reais in investments only in technology.
Wow.
So this is massive investments. Only look at like 85% of the total market representing the top 20 banks. So this is a massive investment. From a customer behavior landscape, Brazilians are very addicted to new technology, are kind of a tech savvy. Although we do have a very continental country with different social and economic realities, Brazilians tend to be very tech savvy, and the banks got it and are really investing in customer experience. More than 300 billion reais invested only in customer experience last year. So massive investments also on the customer side. When we look at competition, it's very fluid now, right? We are coming from a market that was really concentrated. And we have new players now in the game. Not only the fintechs and the unicorn you mentioned, like Nubank, that is really taking a huge part of the market and it's really growing. But we have digital natives as well, in spin-offs from incumbents building their own and separated digital banks. So we have also retailers and consumer business and e-commerces entering into the financial sector, right? So this is huge. So we have a lot of dynamics and a lot of movements in the marketplace and an invasion in financial services landscape. And now all changes happen because also the regulator it's really incentivizing this. The central bank and here in Brazil really fosters inclusion, transparency, competition, and education. And it really wants to incentivize the competition. And because of that, we are going through a lot of changes in our regulatory framework, the payments institutions, the credit societies, P2P lending, regulatory sandbox, instant payments, PIX, as you mentioned, and we are now under the implementation of the open banking framework. So all of these regulatory framework changes are really incentivizing the market to change and really transform, right? The adoption of PIX was something kind of unique in any single market. We are not yet, we haven't reached yet 1 year of implementation. We're going to reach 1 year implementation next month. And we have more than 100 million users using PIX. It has dominated the electronic fund transfer between accounts, mainly peer-to-peer, person-to-person, but it's also reaching the business-to-consumer side, and even can take business from is taking business from debit card, but also can take business from credit cards. So this is kind of unique. It's a really huge innovation in the market. And just to finish my comment on the market landscape, I think in terms of open banking, we are really in the middle of this implementation, right? In fact, in Brazil, it's not only an open banking implementation, it's an open finance environment that we are implementing here, because we are going beyond banking transaction and credit card transactions and card transactions. We are including in our framework investments, credit limits, and also insurance. So we have a specific open framework for open insurance. So our joint is really forming an open finance environment that we're really implementing now. And we had the chance to see and have the lessons learned from other jurisdictions.
Right.
And now we are really in the middle of this. And this is really going to incentivize even more competition, which is expected by not only the incumbents, but the new players in the marketplace in terms of open banking.
Yeah, I think the combination of what you're pointing out, going from the customer's demands of new experiences, the investment in technology, a regulatory framework that really allows all of this sophisticated innovation, is making all of these new players come in within the umbrella of open finance. If I'm an incumbent bank, if I'm an established player, or even a big retail company that is looking to get into financial services, I think that presents a lot of challenges and a lot of common questions and things that I think a company like Deloitte and Mambu, of course, can help with. So I'd like to dive into the perspective of the client and understand, when you have these client conversations and they ask you for advice, they ask you for a path forward, what do you tell them? How do you help them? What do they do?
Yeah, Andy, I would say that core modernization, cloud migration is at the heart of any CIO agenda in country, regardless of the size of a corporation. Regardless if you are an incumbent, if you are a new digital player, if you are a mid-sized bank that you need to modernize your stack, this is really on the heart of everyone, right? This is on the agenda, because everyone out the marketplace has really understood that they really need to transform their businesses. They really need to transform their customer journeys. And in order to redesign and rethink their customer journeys, regardless if their business is focused on individuals or if it's focused on corporations, it's all about experience and efficiency, right? We really need to redesign and rethink our stack and rethink your set of solutions, right? And I think we always face the dilemma that how should I proceed with this, right? We're going to find situations where the stack was built with really with a make approach, right? Everything was really built on house, and we're going to see situations that that stack is part of different brands and different smaller solutions that were bought in the local marketplace to satisfy local regulation, but they really are not very well connected, but they are established. So how to approach this? I think this is the huge dilemma, right? Should the CIO define to go for a more, let's say, a full stack option, looking for a vendor with a full stack, or should the CIO look for a more composable solution and look for vendors that allow them to build a more composable stack. I personally believe that building a more composable solution, a more composable architecture, gives more flexibility, gives more agility, and gives also the flexibility not only for the CIO, but also for the business to prioritize what's going to come first, right? Because you don't need to touch everything at once. You can do this change in waves, right? You don't need to change your full stack in one single shot. You can do by business and look at the business priorities to really go for it, right? So this is the major conversation that we are having with our clients. Sometimes clients are kind of skeptical to go through a more composable solution, but what we tell them is that, hey, look, at the end we're going to get more flexibility, and building your stack with best of breed solutions, which in the past, due to integration, was more difficult. And now this is not the reality, right? Technology has advanced. So building your technology stack with the best of breed solutions is a way to create more agility on the business side. So this is really at the heart of the conversation that we're having with mainly CIOs here. But of course, is also in a business agenda, right? And sometimes this kind of discussion starts with the business, but it's going to migrate definitely for the CIO.
Yeah, 100%. And I like what you said. Of course, it's very aligned to what we like to tell our customers as well, where we think about it as being built to evolve, built to change. If you look at Brazil today, who could have said 5, 10 years ago we'd be here now? And therefore, it's natural to think about how can you possibly understand or predict with certainty where the market is going to go in 5 or 10 years. Therefore, you need to be ready to have that flexibility, to be able to change, to be able to adapt and grow with the market. Having said all of that, I'm going to ask you a question that I understand is not an easy one to answer, but hopefully you can have a good response. Where do you think the market is going? What is next for Brazil?
Yeah, this is the $1 million question, right? So I think it's not that hard to answer, Andy. Actually, definitely you will see, we'll still be watching a lot of acceleration in digital transformation, right? We'll see that happening in every single flank and sector and product and experience and customer segment. You'll still be seeing that for a while in our market. For sure, some fintechs or digital natives are going to reach scale. Some may not, which may, there might be opportunities for mergers, for acquisitions. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see some movement in the marketplace, some different players perhaps joining together, joining forces. I believe that players from different industries will still continue to penetrate the financial services landscape. So in essence, the environment, the competitive environment is going to be even more dynamic and uncertain, mainly if we succeed in the implementation of open banking, right? But I think the truth is that the banking, the banking leaders really need to rethink their business models, because in essence, the boundaries of the industry will continue to be challenged. The source of revenues that are out there will continue to be challenged. So it's mandatory not only for large, but also for mid-sized players to really rethink the way they're conducting their business and rethink their business model and how they can create new sources of revenues, better ways to retain customers, more efficient customer journeys, and more efficiency in the entire operation, and modernize existing technology structures, redesigning journeys, and providing really solutions that are going to create value, not only for the end consumer, but also internally in the organization, are going to be really essential in the future. So I think this is it's kind of a rule of thumb, right?
Yep.
It's not a market, it's not an environment that you can just sit in your empire and see things going on. No. Even if you're a leader, you need to move towards the changing towards the future and thinking beyond the banking, not only in the banking business itself.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that I believe is an interesting approach to all of those challenges and all of the dynamic is a strong partnership. And Deloitte is a very special partner to us. Of course, they're sponsoring this segment. And also, we gave you an award earlier this year in recognition of that partnership. We've done a lot globally. We've done a lot in Latin America. What I'd like to understand from your optics is Deloitte plus Mambu. Why is that such a valuable proposition that we can put in front of a customer when they need to deal with all of the challenges ahead of them in this changing market?
Good question, Andy. I think alliances is an important strategy for our firm globally, and also is important for Brazil and Latin America. And Mambu is part of that alliance strategy, right? Looking at Brazil specifically, right? Before talking a little bit about our forces, look at specifically at the Brazilian marketplace. Players, incumbents, or banks in country, or newcomers into the marketplace, they have few options in the market if they want to do a kind of greenfield or build out from zero. They have only local players that are out there in the marketplace for years, having international brands with an international experience, with newer technologies in the marketplace, it is really important because it brings more competition in the marketplace, right? So having this balance and the options of local players and also now international brands like Mambu, it's important for the health of the market, right? So just this comment that I think it was important. In terms of going out there together and what we can do together, Deloitte is a full and complete consultancy firm. We play from the strategy to technology implementation, right? We are experts in doing transformational projects, in changing operating models, in changing IT operating models, right? And mainly in financial services, our difference is really the expertise in the industry, right? It's a very important sector for us. We have industry know-how. We have industry experts. We know the processes. We know the environment. We know the nuances. We know the regulation. So we know how to operate in the financial sector. And looking at retail banking, commercial banking, investment banking, even other sectors of the industry like insurance, right? So typically on transformation and projects with vendors like Mambu, we can play a very strong role as integrators, working on the strategic and working on the tactical roles, like designing models, defining requirements, supporting on the testing, really helping defining the future architecture, besides all the project management, bringing it agile and scalable methods into the game, right? Yep. So, and looking at change and looking at projects that create technology change, you need a partner that not only is strong in technology, right, but also a partner that is strong on the operational side. So this is how we can really collaborate, right? Yep. Taking advantage of technological assets and also taking advantage of the industry know-how and how to really guide transformation.
Yes, and we love working with you. And I think the testament to that is this segment that we're doing today with all of our friends from Deloitte. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. I know I learned something. I hope everybody watching learned something as well. And thank you again for participating in the Mambu Summit.
Again, it was an honor. Thank you so much for the invitation. Hopefully next year we're going to be together. It wasn't possible this year, but I hope it has worked virtually. And looking forward to work with Mambu in the future. And thanks again for the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's all we have for today.